Hey everybody, this is Diane. Welcome to Biters.
And this is Marnell, and I really, really can't wait for the election so I don't have to watch Walking Dead political advertisements.
Yeah, keep my zombies apolitical.
Yeah, I know. And I'm sure there's people screaming at us to do the same thing, but
That's why we're trying to shift it all over to the Real Housewives of Alaska.
we are. We are. And plus that advertisement just was not that great. So
I watched it because Diana sent it to us as a private message, and yeah, no.
at least I can skip them. When I record the episode on Sling, I can skip the national political advertisements, but for some reason, it does not let you skip local political advertisements. And I will tell you, even the guy that I'm voting for, I'm just like, can I just skip your
Oh
advertisements?
yeah, so since we're being
Oh,
political, I've got to tell you today. So yesterday I get like 4 to 6 political texts a day.
all freaking
And
day.
yesterday I got one and I was like, are you kidding me? I haven't donated to your campaign. Yes, I have. And not only have I donated to yours, but I've donated to Jamie Harrison. I've donated to Get Mitch or Die Trying. Don't tell me I haven't donated.
Oh
And
man,
then
I am.
today, like right after I voted, I got another text and I just texted back, I just voted for you.
Yeah.
I know nobody monitors those. I know that it's just a bot sending those out, but I was so mad. Yeah, I'm ready for it to be over. The thing is we all know, regardless of what side of the fence we're on, it's not going to be over on Tuesday night.
No, it's not. Even locally.
It
'Cause
might. It might. Although I don't know. I mean, there's so much early voting and so much absentee voting. I don't know. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, and I think we're one of those states that doesn't start counting mail-ins until the day of the election.
Well, and honest to
So,
God, like I had my total freak out today, and I'm so glad you sent that link to me
mhm.
because I was fairly sure I was not going to be able to vote because I was fairly sure my COVID test was going to be positive today.
But you're positively in the negative.
With the Abbott test, which is not the most reliable test in the world, but we won't even go there.
Right. But you are feeling better, so
Like I said, like I'm going to say 75% better. There's still some lingering symptoms and I'm not 100%. I don't feel great, but I'm better. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that.
although I kind of think you would like to, considering how much you absolutely hated one of the episodes we're about to podcast about.
So once again, we have double duty. We are talking about Fear the Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 3, entitled Alaska. And then we are also talking about The Walking Dead, The World Beyond, Season 1, Episode 4, The Wrong End of the Telescope. And yeah. I am going to say that I'm going to start my numbers out with numbers having to do with Walking Dead World Beyond.
Okay.
That is 46 minutes and 9 seconds of my life I will never get back.
Yeah, it's an hour and 16 minutes for me because of the all the advertisements on Sling.
Um, I do have numbers for last week. So Welcome to the Club, which was the Fear the Walking Dead episode, was 1.55 million views. It was down from 1.59 the episode before. The Tiger and the Lamb was 1.04 million views, and that was steady from the previous week. It was the same number of views that they had for episode 2.
So, not to put you on the spot, but how is that in comparison? Like, are we top 10 Nielsen? Are we top
Oh,
25?
I
Like,
couldn't even tell you. I
okay,
honestly, I have started looking for these numbers on their Wikipedia pages because that's where I can find the same day updates. The site
gotcha.
that I was using, probably 9 months ago, so pre-COVID, really started to be unreliable about their ratings about having numbers up. It's a site called TV by the Numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started going to the Wikipedia page and at least getting the previous episode's numbers for same-day views. I mean, I would say that AMC probably still has some of the higher numbers for broadcast television, but actually they're not broadcast, they're cable, excuse me. But, you know, I mean, you gotta remember, and I, you know, we don't have to go into the, you know, they're not talking about people who DVR it, and they're not talking about people who watch it offline like you and I do.
Right.
Because we know that. But, I mean, you've gotta remember, we've gone from a series that at its height was getting 17, 20 million same-day views, and now we're down in the 1 millions.
Yeah.
You know, and granted, I mean, these are both offshoots, and Fear has been uneven at best, and oh my god, The World Beyond is getting worse and worse.
It's not getting much better.
It's getting worse. And we actually, just for all of you out there, we decided to start with The World Beyond tonight so we could end on a high note. I will say one thing, though, that I ran across while I was looking for stuff just having to do with Fear. How did I miss the Althea tapes? I'm glad there's silence on the other end, because that means you missed them as well.
Okay.
So in 2019, they did a 6-part series that I believe was shown on AMC, but it's also on YouTube, and you can watch all of them on YouTube. And it was 6 interviews that Al did. So it was actually 6 of her tapes. And so I had them playing tonight while I was prepping for the podcast, and they were really good.
Oh, well, thanks for texting me.
Well, you can watch them later. We don't have to break them down piece by piece. I was just like, how did I actually miss this? I feel like a really lousy podcaster that I missed this.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't put as much advertisements as they did the Red Machete.
They did not. I don't think they did. And there was one that I especially liked. Like, if you go back and watch them, and you don't want to watch them all, and they're not very long, but there was one that I really liked called JC and Carl. So they were very good. I enjoyed them very much. So if you all out there in Biter's Land have not seen these, if you like Al and if you like the idea of Al's tapes, they are worth your time.
That's funny. On this episode, I was just thinking, I'm so over videotaping everything.
Oh, so is Eric Kane. That was one of the things he said in his review.
Yeah.
Along with totally a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, because we're kind of off kilter, we're going to do featured cast. We'll talk a little bit about the news, do some Housewives updates that you haven't already gotten in the first 10 minutes of the episode. and then we'll go into World Beyond. So, who's our featured cast?
Our featured cast is, you know her as Honey, you know her as Sherry, but in real life, her name is Christine Evangelista.
Yay!
And I'm so happy she's back.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we'll go there, definitely.
If you're thinking her last name sounds familiar, yes, she is related to the supermodel whose name escapes me now.
Linda Evangelista. I know, I was wondering too. I was like, is she related? Is she her daughter? And then I was like, oh, nope, they're cousins. Oops, I aged Linda Evangelista a little bit.
And I keep wanting to call Christine Linda, and I couldn't remember Linda's name because I wanted to call her Christine.
Oh my gosh.
So she got her start off Broadway. And actually, last year she did something really amazing that I really wish I would have been able to see. One of my dogs is whining.
That's okay. Mine are trying to play, so it's going to be a dog-centric episode.
She did a play in New York called Mistrial, Mistrial. And it was basically about... the impact and the way that women are treated in the judicial system when they are victims of sexual assault.
Oh, wow. That sounds good.
Yeah, so some pretty heavy.
Gosh, that sounds really cheery.
Well, and of course, like, so if you go to her Instagram or any of her social medias or anything, she's on Facebook. I actually, oh, she does have a Twitter, at C Evangelista. But she seems like the funnest person. For one, she's super fashionable and she looks like she likes to travel, and we'll get into like her dog rescuing here in a minute.
Oh,
but
that's so cool.
She looks like probably the pandemic hit her hard because one, she was doing stage theater at the time, and so that got shut down. And of course, she was in New York City, so they were one of the first to really get hit hard.
Right.
And then two, it, her being kind of such an extrovert, it sort of put the kibosh on that. So she has a little Chihuahua Terrier you'll see in some of her pictures named Buddy. He's adorable. But she also started fostering another, what appears to be a Chihuahua Terrier also. I don't have a name for it, but she's fostering him from the Bell Foundation. And she does, she seems to do a lot for animal charities. Her other charity of choice is Veterinarians International. She's very concerned about elephants. She seems to like elephants a lot. Her father was a New York firefighter. Her mother was an RN and now is a nurse practitioner in New York. And her grandmother was a World War II Navy nurse.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
But I loved all, and she does have a TikTok.
Of course she does.
I couldn't find it, but she reposted something to her Instagram page from her TikTok, and I still couldn't find it. But it was of her nightly skin routine, so I will have to search harder for her TikTok.
Oh my goodness. Well, you'll have to share that with me if you find it, because I definitely need a nightly skin routine.
And she's got gorgeous skin. I mean, her and her cousin apparently looks run in her family. So she also plays guitar. Her first professional acting job on screen, she doesn't say how old she was, but she was a minor, and she was a featured extra playing a hit and run victim on the show Third Watch on NBC. And her mom had actually taken her to and from the set, and on the way home from the set, they got pulled over, and of course she's covered in fake blood, and I guess the police officer was not very amused until he actually learned, that it was fake blood, and she just came from a television show set.
Oh, how funny.
I was like, and her mother never took her to a job again. One of the things she loves more about doing television and movies than she does doing theater is, one, the money.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
2, craft services. And 3, she can bring her dog to set.
Oh, so, that's kind of cool.
I know. I was like, oh, a girl after my own heart. So one of the things that she has been in lately that it seems like she was in during the times that she was on The Walking Dead Prime as Sherry, and of course now, was a TV show called The Arrangement.
Yes, I was reading about that, and it got really, I mean, the people who commented on the IMDb page spoke very highly of it, and someone was like, can't this be picked up by another oh, God, my brain is not working. Network. Because apparently it's not made it past 2 seasons, and the person who commented really liked it.
Yes. So I think this was on, I swear it was on like Lifetime or something, but it looked really, really good. And the premise behind it is, and of course, the comparisons have been made to a certain Scientology relationship. It She
Oh.
is an actress that is hired to be the wife of a
Oh, that's
big name
very,
Hollywood star.
very interesting.
Yes, and so they get married, and of course, it's an arranged marriage,
Oh,
basically
the
by
Real
their
Housewives are definitely going to have to talk about Scientology, definitely.
right. So, the arrangement was on the list, and I don't know where it went on the list because I suddenly just rediscovered it, having done uh,
The deep dive on,
the deep dive.
yeah.
Yeah. So, she's been in a ton of things that I have seen. She has done a couple of episodes of Law and Order.
Yes.
She was on 2 episodes of 666 Park Avenue, which I absolutely loved. Season 1 of 666 Park Avenue. She had kind of a recurring role on Chicago Fire, Lucky 7. And she was also in the movie The Intern. I don't know if you remember that one. That was with Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway and Renee Russo.
Nope, didn't watch it.
So she has been around for a while, and she's done quite a bit. And I really think The Arrangement probably just got bumped back up on the watch list.
She gets very high marks for her performance.
Yeah, and like I said, I absolutely loved her Instagram posts. I just want her wardrobe.
Well, I keep saying that there's a list, but oh my god, I can't keep up with the list. So
And I actually need to start writing the list down,
right?
So stuff doesn't fall off and get forgotten.
I'm going to say again, I do think that some sort of like zoom into the Satanic Temple is going to have to be on the list at some point. So I wanted to say something about Christine Evangelista because I found kind of an interesting little connection with her. So she was born in New York. She went to a school called the Herbert Berghoff School of Acting. So I looked that up because I was curious to know what the history was there. It was founded in 1945 by Herbert Berghoff. And there was a very famous woman named Uta Hagen who taught there. I actually I don't know if you remember, this was right around the time that I was a junior or senior in high school, and I actually took an acting workshop from a woman who had studied with Uta Hagen.
I don't remember that.
I know, little teeny tiny, like total tiny connection there, but it was kind of cool. And then I just started to kind of go down the list of people who were notable alums of this school. F. Murray Abraham, who played Salieri in Mozart, or in Amadeus. You probably didn't watch Amadeus. You were probably way too young for that movie.
I know of it.
Oh
I don't think I've actually ever seen it.
It was a really good movie. I mean, if we just totally never, ever, totally want to do something that is not zombie or horror related at all, someday we may have to do Amadeus because it was such a great film. It would be interesting to see how it's aged. But also,
and I love classical music, so...
Oh, it was a phenomenal movie. But also, Debbie Allen from Fame, the famous choreographer.
Mm-hmm.
Anne Bancroft, Candice Bergen, Stockard Channing. I mean, the list of people who graduated from this particular school of acting was incredible. So I thought that was an interesting little find about Christine Evangelista.
That is cool.
Yeah. And she has a voiceover in one video game. Which, it's a video game called Alan Wake's American Nightmare. I know.
I did see that she had a voiceover, but I did not read the name of the video game.
So I had to laugh because when I posted about the COVID surge in Alaska and my basically complete removal from all social interaction now because of my job, one of my friends was like, you need a video game console. And I was like, no, I'm just going to start podcasting more.
Right. Besides, you don't need a video game console. You can play most video games on your PC.
I don't have a PC. I have a Mac, thank you very much.
Okay, well, you can play most on your computer. Oh, and you know what? She is a vet. She is an ambassador for Vets International.
Oh, that's very cool. So she seems like she would pretty much be our kind of girl.
Definitely.
Very good. Anything else you want to say about her? Other than, yay, honey, we're so glad you're back.
We are. Yes. No, I don't have anything else. I'm just excited to see where she has been this entire time.
Well, so I have a little bit about that in Whisperer's Corner.
Oh, good.
So, which takes us right into Whisperer's Corner. So the first thing that I found when I was looking at news tonight is that Netflix finally put up a Selena trailer. And they finally gave us a date. December 4th is when it's going to drop on Netflix.
I think I heard that, or I said that on one of our previous podcasts.
Okay, I didn't remember a date, but I did watch the trailer, and Christian Serratos looks wonderful, and Brian was so funny. He responded to the Biters link, and he was like, well, hello! Let's see. There was an interview with a guy named Nick Venable at Cinema Blend, and he talked a little bit with both Coleman Domingo and Maggie Grace. And Maggie Grace talked about the roof scene, and she said that they did it in one take. And she completely credits Coleman Domingo and said that he was such a delight to work with as the director.
Huh.
So I thought that was really cool. And then she actually referred to the whole storyline about Al and Isabel as the greatest story she never told.
Aww.
Yeah. And so, I mean, how much of that is the greatest story she never filled Dwight in? Because it seemed like he knew a little bit about the beer lady, but not much.
Yeah, I find it weird that he, like, the name was the beer lady.
Right.
I can't remember if it was Eric Kane or Paul Tassi that was like, what is their obsession with beer?
And it's only been since the two knuckleheads took over.
Yes. Yes, because like they pointed out earlier in the show, season 2, I think, they were actually like drinking hard alcohol.
Yeah, Strand of Madison tied a good one on at the hotel, remember?
Yeah.
Well, so I'm also wondering if the greatest story she never told was also just a reference to this is the end of the story for Isabel and Al.
Do you think it is?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I have questions. All right, so the next thing in the Whisperer's Corner, and I'm sorry, Steve, you have completely ruined me. I will forever think of Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg as the two knuckleheads. I can't think of them as anything else. So they actually said in an interview with Entertainment Weekly that they felt like Sherry's return was Dwight's, quote, karmic reward for his selflessness toward Al. And they also, and this goes to what you were talking about, they also say they're going to give us some Sherry backstory in a couple of weeks.
Oh, good.
And there is an upcoming episode entitled Honey. So...
Oh, yeah, I kind of remember that, because I figured that was the episode we were going to get her back in.
Right. So, there was a Paul Tassi article, it was, I don't know, it basically sounds like he really liked Fear. There wasn't anything revelatory in his review of the episode, although he did say at the end, I'm actually looking forward to the show weekly now. It's pretty wild.
Okay, between that and I think it was Diana who said it's easily the best episode in the last 2 seasons. And it was like, well, that's not really kind of high praise, but okay.
I do have to say, I was really shocked when Diana and Steve were like, you're going to want to watch this one a second time. And I was like, wait, what?
Because you had just vowed to only do one watch through on each.
And I kept my vow with World Beyond because it was horrible. Okay, Cinema Blend suggests that the A's are intentionally, and this goes to the end credits scene in World Beyond. Mm-hmm. So if you were dumb like me and you turned it off before the end credit scene, go back and watch before you listen to this little tidbit of news. But Cinema Blend said that they think that the A's are people who are intentionally turned into walkers for research purposes. Thomas O'Mara is the reason that I know about the end credit scenes, because he was like, they explained the A's and the B's, and I was like, what? And then I said, all right, I feel like they sort of explained the A's. They made a reference to the A's. And he was like, well, what I take it is that an A is freshly bitten and a B is savable. A is for experiments and B's are for use. So his take is a little different than the take in Cinema Blend, but I thought that was an interesting take, and I did tell him I would credit him for that.
Well, and comicbook.com talks about after falsely claiming she had an A ready for pickup, she tells the pilot, I have a B, not an A. I never had an A. She then urges the helicopter to descend and pick Rick up, who is hurt but strong.
And so that kind of goes with the A's are terminal and B's are not. You know?
Yeah.
Let's see. Totally kind of grim news, not sort of, series related, but not series related. AMC is asking a Georgia appeals court to overturn the $8.6 million verdict in favor of John Berneker's family. Remember the stuntman who was killed? So that is an article that was just a couple of days old. Interestingly enough, and I thought this was really hinky, and I mean, who knows? I mean, I just kind of fell victim to not great reporting here locally. Who knows how accurate this is, but the article actually said that Berneker's contract was dated the day that he was in the hospital in a coma. So they're definitely using that as evidence in this, to fight the appeal, basically.
Huh. Just a misstated, do they think it's just misstated?
So there seemed to be the allegation, and I am heavily reading into it, that his signature was falsified or the date was falsified.
Dang.
I am heavily reading into it. That was not explicitly stated.
I mean, that's from what I take of it is that is their allegation. But I mean, that's just one of those things where, you write the 18th instead of the 16th or what, Yeah.
Let's see. Eric Kane. This is the last thing I've got in Whisperer's Corner. So he said that Fear the Walking Dead continues to be better than last season and better than most of season 4. He did point out a continuity error that I didn't really pay attention to, but it really makes a lot of sense. He pointed out that most of the zombies in the building looked like they had been dead for years.
I think that's kind of been one of my complaints all along, except for the opposite, is that, I would think zombies that have been exposed to the elements for, years upon years upon years, that they would pretty much be completely desiccated by now. They wouldn't be up shambling around. So he kind of has the opposite observation of, these people just died a week ago.
Right.
And that's dead for 3 years.
And they explicitly said in the episode that these people were sick with the plague and had just started dying. So
right. And the girl even pointed out, she's like, I don't even recognize them anymore.
Right. And I mean, how did they decay that fast? Yeah.
Maybe the plague boils.
I don't know. Never seen the bubonic plague, so looked it up. Have some feedback about that. But, knock wood, have never seen it. The other thing, God bless Eric Kane, I never thought I would say those words, but I agree. Ditch the walkie-talkies. Where are all of the batteries coming from? Let's get over the magical reach of the walkie-talkies.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get over the batteries and flashlights and an endless supply of antibiotics.
Because, yeah, I was actually thinking about the walkie-talkies when they were using them in the building. And that's like a super concrete building. And I usually don't even get cell service in the rinky-dinky concrete buildings around our town.
Right.
And when I say rinky dinky, I don't even think we have a building that is over 12 floors in Juneau. So, and that one's our federal building.
And people were talking about the state capitol here. All right. Anything else for Whisperer's Corner?
I don't think so.
So quick updates in Housewives housekeeping. We did podcast our second episode of The Real Housewives of Alaska. We podcasted about the movie The Social Dilemma, which if you have not watched it, prepare to be horrified about social media.
And
I was more horrified than Marnell was.
Already knew.
Yeah, I was more horrified than Marnell was, but and I will say that I knew a fair amount of it, but there was still stuff where I was like, what?
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier. This housewife is COVID negative. I still feel like warmed over dog doo, but I am COVID negative right now. So, but people, masks, 6 feet back, covers your nose, wash your freaking hands, respect other people, and put your mask on when you go somewhere public. This is not a joke. I'm so tired of this, and I'm so over people being so disrespectful.
God, and we're in that fall surge too that they talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, our cases, and I have to preface this by saying we have we're the third least populated state, and we're enormous. We're like 2/3 the size of the United States, so we can socially distance pretty well, but we have a low population, but we're running around 300 and some odd new cases a day. And day before, we spiked up to over 500.
Which is, I mean, that's insane for us.
For us, yeah.
That's insane.
Yep.
And I've got to tell you, we've had a number of positives in my setting. I've had 2 known exposures in the last 3 weeks, one of which I just found out about today. So I'm really super not excited that I'm symptomatic because the test that I got today was a rapid test and they're not great.
Yeah.
So, yeah. 6 feet back! I kind of felt like there was a lot of other stuff that I had to talk about in Housewives, and of course now I don't have anything except to say that we're still waiting for our iTunes feed for our new podcast to get up and running, which is super frustrating. Guess that takes us into our goods, bads, and uglies about fear. Actually, no, it takes us... Oh my god,
World Beyond.
So discombobulated. Right, we are going to do World Beyond first. And it doesn't go to good, bads, and uglies first. It goes to our ratings, our title, our writer, our director, and then our goods, bads, and uglies.
Good thing you remembered all that. I was just about to go into good, bads, and uglies.
Okay, so what was your rating? Because your rating was obviously far better than mine was.
Mine was 3.85 cans of sardines.
Oh yeah, yours was way better than mine was.
Girls gotta have her omega-3s.
Which I thought was probably one of the funniest lines in the whole episode.
Well, and look, I'm not... I like sardines like everyone else likes their sardines in your Caesar salad ground up into a fine paste.
Those are anchovies, babe.
Oh, okay. Okay. I like
You don't like sardines.
Fish and packed in oil like everybody else. But it's protein, it's fat, it's food, it's probably expired, but not as bad as those SpaghettiOs.
The lasagna.
Chef Boyardee or whatever.
The lasagna.
Blech.
Yeah, no, so I don't know if you've listened to Aim for the Head. I listened to it, and I agree with Steve. I think they would all be dead from eating the lasagna, and I'm even more firmly convinced of that after their haul off of the school shelves. But And maybe that's the way it will end. And is it confirmed for season 2? Because I'm kind of hoping it's not confirmed for season 2.
I think it's just 2 seasons.
I know it's just 2 seasons, but have they actually started creating season 2 yet?
Probably as much as anything else in COVID world.
All right, so I am giving it 1.3 purple-haired zombies out of 5.
Whoa!
It was awful. And so the title was The Wrong End of a Telescope. And yeah, that's how I felt after this episode. Wah, wah.
Wow.
It was awful!
Like, I'm kind of lightheaded. Like, where did that come from?
Oh my god.
We'll
Maybe I'm just influenced heavily by Aim for the Head, but I was listening to Diana and Steve, and Diana was like, about last week's, okay, it was terrible. Moving on. And that's kind of the way I felt about this one. I mean, last week I was like, okay, so there was a little bit of redeeming, I mean, it was all right. I like Silas's backstory. It was all right. No.
Huck isn't grading on me so much anymore. I mean,
because she had like
positive.
3 lines. No, she had more than that. Actually, we'll get into it.
So,
okay.
The title, I think I might know what they were getting at. Looking at through a telescope at the wrong end makes everything sort of far away but myopic. But I don't know how that translates to the show.
Were they looking at high school through the wrong end of the telescope? I mean, there was that whole conversation between Iris and Silas about, well, do they even realize what they had? I mean, they had this, they had that, and he looked at her and said, well, didn't you have all of that? Except, I don't even remember what the exception was, but he basically pointed out she had everything that she listed except one thing.
Okay. And, the same could be said for the Hope and Huck thing when Hope was having her flashbacks to her dad, how,
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right, very quickly. So our writer, and I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce the name incorrectly, but I'm going to go with Sinead. Sinead Daly. Daly, D-A-L-Y. Wrote an episode of Dirty John, which I actually really liked, the TV series that they did around Dirty John.
I loved the podcast. I loved the TV series. I loved the second season of the TV series.
So it's kind of proof that this writer actually is capable of doing some decent writing, because this certainly was not. She has also written for Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, which I know if I were a really good geek, I would like and have read Douglas Adams, and I have not. So there we are. And she has been a producer on all 4 episodes thus far of World Beyond. And then our director is a woman named Rachel Lederman. She has 11 director credits. The one that I will highlight other than this one is she directed an episode of The Man in the High Castle.
Ooh.
Which actually, I was really into the first season and then I kind of fell off. So it's another one that's on the list, but it's, made its way rapidly down the list just because the list is too long.
Okay, and the new show, not the new-ish movie, Lost in Space, was amazing. I loved it. And they made Parker Posey the bad guy, and I love Parker Posey. They made
I like Parker Posey too.
Parker Posey was Dr. Smith, and so I like you had me at Parker Posey, but they did a really good job with the new Lost in Space, and I really hope it gets another season. It's probably never did, because the last one was in 2018, but I don't know. Things get resurrected, things get dropped because of COVID, whatever.
I will tell you that I will forever think of Parker Posey in the movie Best in Show, raving at the person about the Lost Busy Bee, the Weimaraner's toy. And having had a Weimaraner, yeah.
See, and I see her in Clock Watchers and House of Yes.
Oh.
Which, if you want a really messed up movie, watch House of Yes.
Oh, okay. I'll put that on the list too, somewhere on the list. All right, now let's get into our goods, bads, and uglies, because I want to put this turd to bed.
It's generally not what I do with turds, but okay.
Okay, I want to flush this turd.
And there you go. So do you want to go first?
Sure, because our goods are actually the same. We actually
They
both
are.
let that slip while we were finishing up prepping. So it was the end credits scene, and I liked it, well, because it was the only watchable thing in the whole episode.
It was the most interesting thing.
Yes, and, I liked it because it did expand a little bit on the universe and gave us some information that we've been looking for. I thought it was very interesting to see Hope and Iris's dad in that photo, and that doctor who was the recently turned zombie was clearly in the photo as well.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the woman to stop eating her giant sandwich. I thought she was rude.
I always find it funny because, of course, I think we all probably eat at our jobs. Like, we've eaten at our workstations, our desks, or whatever every once in a while. But, like, it's always funny when you see, like, someone who's, like, a medical examiner or a virologist or something like that eating, while they're doing this, like, horribly grotesque task.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I've gone from a code to lunch. I've gone from opening up an abscess and draining it to lunch. I mean, yeah, you get accustomed. I just thought she was kind of rude, and I thought this sandwich was really outsized.
Cut it in half.
Yeah, right. But I do think that the conversation that it brought up around A's and B's and what they mean, I thought that was really interesting, and I hope they expand a little bit on that.
Well, and just like all of the science that they were doing, it was like, okay, we're taking.
Oh my God, they were sciencing.
They were taking basically a spinal tap and what's the stuff in blood? It's a blood product.
I know they said
right
something.
Yeah. So, but I just loved that, like, all of these crazy experiments they were doing, like, it sounded like right as they were turning and then long after they've turned. And
yeah, it does sound like they're kind of tracking the deterioration.
Plasma.
Okay.
Blood plasma. Yes. Yeah. So I was like, more science, please. Like, could we just Mr. Wizard the hell out of that?
Which, by the way, Thomas O'Mara was like, it was Mr. Wizard. I knew it too.
Oh.
So, I don't know if you know, but the phrase, dude, do you even science, comes from Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I've used that with people before, like when I've insulted people online, and they're like, science isn't a verb. Like, you obviously don't know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is.
He has a TikTok, by the way.
Oh, okay, you may have just won me over.
Oh, we're all going to have a TikTok. I was so aggrieved when I had to move from MySpace to Facebook. And then I was okay with Twitter. And now I'm like, okay, TikTok's where it's at.
Oh my God,
and
that's so
forget
funny.
about Instagram.
Yeah, and Instagram doesn't really move me.
No. Like, I love looking at people's really cool pictures, but it really... I need the story. I need the science.
Yeah. All right, what was your bad? Or did you have more to say about your good?
No, our good was the same thing. Test subject A402.
Oh, and I did like actually the fact that they used TS as.
Yep.
I thought that was a nice callback to season 1.
Yeah.
So season 1 of the original series. Okay, now sorry, you're bad. Go ahead.
You don't want to go with your bad?
Oh, I'll go with my bad. Sure.
Okay.
I thought that the imagined dance and like the illustration of the dance and like them being surrounded by the dancing couples, it was dumb. Dumb,
Really?
dumb, dumb, dumb.
I was okay with it.
I just thought it was lame. I was like, really? This is the zombie apocalypse we get? This is not the zombie apocalypse we deserve. No, I was totally not having it. I mean, compare and contrast that to Shane kneecapping Otis. Really?
Okay, but this one's geared towards like teenagers.
Oh, barf.
So... Wow, now who's cold and dead inside?
I am not having it. I am not having this episode this week. They are taking my Walking Dead and they are driving it into the ground more than the two knuckleheads ever did. All I have to say is beer bottle balloon. Thank you, Steve and Diana. You could tell I listened to their episode today.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, you're bad.
So my bad is like, I know that I probably keep harping on this, but they keep doing it, so I'm going to keep harping on it. Apparently everybody in the zombie apocalypse is slightly deaf. Because in the episode where, you know, the guy, the first episode of Fear, where the guy hooks up to the water tower and, you know, gets the best of her.
Right.
Well, now we can have this wolf drag a walker through the hallways 10 feet away from us, and we hear none of it.
Okay, I totally thought of you and Bella and Romeo, because I was like, that wolf kind of looks like Romeo.
Not really. Romeo was enormous. So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about is I had taken my mom's Cocker Spaniel and my brother's Rottweiler to the frozen over lake of our glacier, and I was letting them
Alaskan.
I know, right? I was letting them run around, and I mean, a big open space. This is a frozen lake. This isn't like there was like a ton of woods right around the area. And I turned my back on them for just a moment. And when I turned back around, I'm like, oh, that is a really pretty dog. That's not a dog.
And Romeo was black, right?
Romeo was black.
Yeah.
He was a giant timber wolf.
Who was apparently quite well known in Juneau.
Yes, there's actually many books written about him. You can look him up. He has his own Wikipedia page. But he had been known to play with a lot of the dogs in the area. He had become somewhat domesticated. And he also was known to have carted off a couple of smaller dogs.
Which Bella was a Cocker Spaniel.
Bella was a Cocker Spaniel. And so she thought she was going to make this awesome new friend. And so she goes running up to Romeo and gets nose to nose with him. And you could just see that sinking look come over. And she sat down and was like, I've made a huge mistake. And this poor dog did not know what to do. And like, it's one of those things where it's like, do I run or do I stay? Do I run or I'm going to run. And she's just, it took off. And Romeo, bless his heart, has a predator's instinct, and he reached out. He took one step forward. She was running for her dear life, and he was so enormous. He took one step forward with his giant paw and snatched her out of the air. And he shook her and then spit her out, because apparently Cocker Spaniel does not taste good. And so she comes bolting over towards me, and she's got 4 little bruises on the underside of her. He did not break her skin. I don't know if it was just a playful shake in his opinion, or if it was a warning or what. But so at the time this was all going on, I'm not just standing there staring at this. I am running towards this giant wolf and this little Cocker Spaniel in his jaws, full speed. And the Rottweiler is right on my heels. And I'm thinking, I don't have a stick. I don't have any sort of weapon. What am I going to do? Reason with him? But I didn't have to, because by the time I got there, he had spit her out and just trotted away. So yeah, that was our encounter with the wolf, and from then on, she really didn't leave my side. So taught her a lesson.
And was Romeo as quiet as the wolf in the high school in the world beyond?
He was even more so quiet, because like I said, I turned around, and when I turned back around, he had appeared out of nowhere, completely silently. Like, there were no trees that he came out from behind. We were in the middle of a frozen lake, and I mean, it was literally like he just like appeared out of thin air. I thought it was just another dog that was out there playing, and it was like, yeah, no, that's a really, really big dog. That's probably not a dog. So, yeah, the wolf in this episode was much, much smaller. But he definitely, at least he didn't look like a husky. A lot of shows will try and save money, and they'll stick a husky on screen. And that's why when I walk my husky, people think that they're wolves, and they're not. Because wolves are enormous.
Right.
Although Dexter does look like a coyote. With
yeah,
floppy.
I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah. So my bad was like, we are supposed to be on high alert in the zombie apocalypse, and people just keep letting these things slip by them.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep pointing them out. They're going to put it in the show. I'm going to gripe about it. So what was your ugly?
So my ugly was, it just did not hold my attention. I mean, between being not even remotely interested in the trajectory of any of these characters, including Silas, including Felix, who I actually have been really interested in up to this point, again, with some of the shots being so dark, it was hard to follow, and I didn't care to follow it. I was totally not into it. Totally not into it. There was nothing about it that I liked. I wanted to, like, really care about the interactions between Hope and her dad, and I was like, nope, I just feel manipulated.
See, and I'm kind of right there with you in that, like, I'm having a really hard time caring about any of the characters, except right there at the end. I'm like, okay, like, we need to speed this along and get to wherever their dad is and go get some more interesting subject matter, you know?
Are they even going to get to him by the end of this season?
I hope so.
Ugh. Honest to God, so I've got to tell you, I really would not be watching this if I were not podcasting it. I would
not be trying to pay such close attention, because I will agree with you that I do have a hard time paying attention to it sometimes.
It wouldn't even be the I'm trying to pay attention to it. I literally would not be watching it. Like, after this, I would peace out. Really. And I never thought I would say that about a Walking Dead property, but no, I don't need this.
We've totally said that about Fear the Walking Dead in past seasons.
You know, so we've definitely said, oh my God, if I weren't podcasting it, I'm not sure this one I'm dead serious.
Yeah. They are trying to reach a demographic that is not you and I.
Somebody talk me off the ledge. The only other thing that I really had in my writing potpourri, because I really didn't write very much down because I really didn't enjoy it, was Silas kind of losing it was good.
We saw that he was being strangled by somebody. I don't know if that was mid-fight.
No, he was strangling somebody.
No, there was a scene where somebody had their hands around his throat.
Okay, so the question is, do you think it was his dad?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it totally plays in with what you talked about last week in terms of, you know, all of this stuff is from his grandparents, all of the recorded stuff. He very quickly says, no, I don't miss my mom at all, never really mentions dad. I mean, it totally plays into it. Which, by the way, he is carrying a freaking Walkman with a cassette, and that's ridiculous. Batteries. Batteries.
Yep. One of the things that the whispers that he heard was even his own mom testified against him.
Right.
So, yeah. But we didn't get to my ugly.
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm so ready to flush this turd.
We've actually kind of talked about my ugly, but not in the respect that it was my ugly. So my ugly actually was the wolf, and it was a good ugly.
Okay.
In that, and I think I've mentioned this on an episode of another Walking Dead show where I like that these people are out in nature, and nature is a huge threat. You know, I mean, drop somebody off in the wilderness with a backpack, and you're going to learn just how hard life is when it comes to, you know, shelter, warmth, food, fresh water, and animals, you know? So, I mean, for goodness sakes, I have, you know, life-threatening animals that troop through my yard all of the time. Of course you're going to run into something that can tear your throat out. Oh, look at that. Did you see that one video the week before, of the guy in California or Colorado?
Getting stalked by the cougar? Yeah.
Yes. So that's, I love when they add the true to life element of that. There are more life-threatening things out there than walkers, and especially now that we're 10 years in and we don't have these large herds.
You know, that actually does bring up another gripe that I have about this. So,
another thing.
The walkers were not scary. There was nothing about them that was scary. The whole door and then like dodging under the walker. I'm like, really? Really? Yeah, no. 0 stars. Very bad. Do not recommend.
That's funny. So in my rotting potpourri, I told you so. I knew at least Hope was adopted, but we found out that Hope and Iris were both adopted.
Yes, that was a good reveal. I did feel like that explained a lot.
Yeah.
And in that brief moment where I didn't feel resentfully manipulated by the portrayal of the relationship between father and daughter, I thought it was kind of cool that he was basically like, you know, I never wanted a different Iris or a different Hope, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So one of my gripes was, why did Felix pick the lock? Like on that. Okay, one, you could have kicked in the door. Two,
right?
The glass that was on that door was not like the glass on the gymnasium where it had the grate over it. It was just regular glass.
That is so funny.
One of my other things was the iodine. I am allergic to shellfish. I cannot have iodine. Do not sterilize my water with iodine. I will die.
Not true for everybody, but fair enough.
Right. I haven't actually tested that theory. I actually just had to have a biopsy done about a week ago, and they were like, they asked something. I was like, so I'm allergic to iodine, and they're like, do you know if you have a reaction? I was like, this is not a biopsy that I want to test that theory on.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So haven't found that one out yet, but yeah.
And you know, truthfully, as a healthcare provider, most of us are like, I don't want to find out either. Let's find something else. Let's choose an alternative.
Yeah. Alcohol is just fine.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
Oh, God.
So, I mean, why were they... I mean, yeah, I guess he was probably... You could carry that around for later, but they didn't need to sterilize the rainwater, I'm thinking.
All right, and another thing. Explain to me how a high school is, like, off the beaten track and has been isolated for 10 years and no one's rated it. I'm sorry, what high school is off the beaten track?
Rated it like how? Like all the stuff in the basement?
Well, you know, I mean, one of the things that they said was, oh, good, we can go in there because it's off the beaten track and it's, you know, it's like totally isolated and I'm sure there's plenty of stuff there. And it's
maybe was one of those really small town high schools that, like, if you went to, like...
No.
Okay. I'm
Because,
just thinking...
I mean, who's got the giant tubs of potato salad and macaroni salad? Who's got the freezers full of Hot Pockets? I mean, sorry, no. You're gonna raid places like pharmacies and schools and grocery stores and...
veterinarian's office.
Yeah, and I mean, seriously, there is no high school that's off the beaten track. There's just not.
I would say not for at least the people who live in town. So I'm thinking of like Clay Elum High School in Central Washington. It is a very, very small town.
But everybody who lives there knows where it is.
The 5,000 residents of that town know about the high school.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that I wrote down about the high school was it actually looked like the one from Black Summer. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Where like all the Lord of the Flies kids were staying.
Right, which I actually did kind of like just the opening visual of the high school. I was okay with that. It went downward rapidly from there.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like, okay, I could see because someone had taken down all of the signs that there was a fallout shelter. And that's a really good idea if you don't want anyone to find your fallout shelter. But there were still a bunch of locked doors, and I don't think that would be the case this long in,
Well, and there were obviously people still there. Zombies still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, somebody had taken the time to pry open a whole bunch of lockers. And no, people did not wear those sunglasses back in the day. At least not ironically, or not
unironically.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I remember those kind of sunglasses, but they were the ones that like the Pepsi booth gave out at Seafair. Like it wasn't anything we went to the store and bought. I certainly would not have had them in my locker.
Yeah, no. Ugh.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else about the world beyond other than next week better be better?
The final last thing that I have is a world where we don't know what a Sadie Hawkins dance is a good world because the premise behind the Sadie Hawkins dance is stupid. It's the one where the girl asks the guy to the dance. That should just be the norm. Like,
do you think that even happens anymore?
Sadie Hawkins dances?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not that young. Like I think maybe there was one when I was in like middle school, and they were necessary, I guess, back then because girls didn't ask guys out, and it was all on the guy, and so like the poor guys needed just one break. But yes, I kind of laughed at the whole. Do you think she went to this school?
Yeah.
So that's all I got.
All right. Well, I think we probably need to take a quick break before we start talking about fear.
Okay.
Because we're an hour into it, and I know we're going to talk longer about fear, and Smalls has been whining at me for the last 45 minutes. So,
you're the editor.
This break brought to you by Vitabones. All right, we'll be back. Hello, everyone. This episode of Biters was brought to you by Dream Bones.
And albuterol. Your new inhalers suck.
All right. So we talked about World Beyond. That turd's been flushed. Thank God. Because, oh my God.
It's not that bad.
Oh God, yes it was. I'm so sorry. Please, someone talk me off the ledge.
I never thought I'd be saying this, but it was no Fear the Walking Dead.
All right, so that leads us into the episode Alaska. Which, unfortunately, they were not in Alaska, but...
Yeah, I kind of felt like this episode, like, I feel a little, like, patronized.
Really?
I expected more. I expected at least to, like, meet somebody from Alaska.
I'm gonna talk you off the ledge.
Okay.
Okay. So, but first I'm gonna rate it
Mm-hmm.
before I talk you off the ledge. I gave it 4.873 Mark Smiths of Alaska out of 5.
Oh, my ratings might be a little controversial considering what I opened the episode with. I gave it a 4.3 bottles of IV bleach.
Where did that come from?
So when they were in the, I'm going to say mortuary, when Al was looking around the...
Which, by the way, I just want to get it out right now before I forget to say it. That was an amazing walker.
The embalmed one? Yeah.
Yes, that was an amazing walker.
When she was in that area, there was one of those little IV poles with some tubing coming from a bleach bottle hung on it.
Was it actually a bleach bottle?
It looked like a Clorox bottle.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if it was actually a bottle of formaldehyde. I mean, never having been in an embalming suite, I don't know. But that's funny.
And when the other half was like, is that a bottle of bleach hanging there? I'm like, well, okay, for the benefit of the doubt, let's say that, like, you could actually mix up a saline solution in there and use that as a legit, IV bottle. But I just thought it was funny. For no specific reason.
Okay, so here's me talking you off the ledge about Alaska.
Okay.
So first of all, it was totally a callback to the license plate game that Aaron and Eric were playing in the original series when we met Aaron.
Oh, I get it. In fact, I wrote down that, like, was Al and Aaron... was that Aaron, her brother?
Oh my god, that's so funny, because that was the next thing I was going to use to talk you off of the ledge. And that was actually... That is not my original thought. That is from Thomas O'Mara. He said, Althea said she got the idea about the licenses from a game she used to play with her brother with license plates. Could Althea be Aaron's sister?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, she keeps referencing being in Africa, and he worked for all those NGOs.
Oh, I didn't realize that. But I thought it was funny because one of the episodes that we really liked was the episode where I think it was Aaron and Daryl that were trapped in the van.
They found an Alaska license plate.
They found an Alaska license plate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I seriously was like, I wrote it down. I was like, was Aaron her brother?
Okay, so the other thing that I thought about was it was really funny that they were like, talking about finding an Alaska license and a Hawaii license, because there's for people who don't live in Alaska, there is such a super highway between Alaska and Hawaii.
There is. We have direct flights, basically.
Right, all of us are like, I'm getting out of here, it's winter, I'm gonna throat punch somebody if I don't get away from the snow.
Yep.
I'm going to Hawaii, which I predict that probably come February, there's going to be a lot of ugliness in South Central Alaska because people aren't going to be going to Hawaii because of the Rona.
Yeah. And what's funny is in Alaska, Alaska and Hawaii are both so reliant on, the tourist trade. And here in Alaska, we were like, oh my god, it's so awful that there are no tourists. How is anybody going to make money? And for some reason, I am on the Hawaiian algorithm on my TikTok. I don't know how I got there. But there are a ton of Hawaiian people going, okay, like, stop coming to the islands with the Rona. Yeah. Like, stop breaking quarantine. Get the F off our island. Oh, and quit putting up... locked gates on our public access beaches. That's a real big thing. I don't know how I got on that TikTok algorithm, but I am on it.
Interesting.
So I see a lot of Hawaiian posts. And, so they're super excited about not having tourists. Alaska's freaking out.
Yeah, it's gonna get grimmer and grimmer. But let's not talk about the Rona anymore. Let's talk about Fear the Walking Dead, because it was not grim. So our writer was a person named Mallory Westfall. I thought of you immediately because Mallory Westfall is credited for writing the pilot of the Chucky TV series that is going to be premiering next year.
Okay, I was like, wait, I missed a Chucky TV series? What's going on? Okay, it's not out yet.
I completely thought of you. She was also listed as an executive story editor for 16 episodes of Fear, and she was a writer for 3. This episode, You're Still Here, which was some episode from last season. I'm going to be honest and say it was totally forgettable. And The Little Prince, which was awful. So there we are. This episode is proof that she can write her way out of a paper bag.
That's funny.
Then our director was Coleman Domingo, who also has 3 Fear the Walking Dead credits to his name as a director. That's the only director credits he's got. Alaska, Humbug's Gulch. Don't forget the San Antonio Split. And then Week, which I think is where we got introduced to the Filthy Lady.
Yeah, that kind of sounds right.
And I will say, just as I said about Mallory Westfall, that this episode bodes really well for Coleman Domingo's directing abilities. I mean, I'm like really happy with what he did with this episode. Okay, Smalls is trying to play with Mouse and she is not having it.
I was like, it sounds like you have a walker in the background.
I do, and she only has 3 legs and she has a purple tail. But yes, that's pretty much a good, solid descriptor of her personality. Oh, all right. So I guess in this discombobulated world, that puts us into our goods, bads, and uglies.
Sure.
So
I think we probably had the same good on this one, but we didn't discuss it prior to.
Okay, so you go ahead and go first this time.
Of course, it was the return of Honey, or Sherry.
No, our goods were not the same.
Okay. Well, I absolutely loved, and I don't know. I don't think this would have been a good one and we never see her again. I really liked that Dwight got reunited with his wife because, I was thinking about it and I was like, God, when we were first kind of introduced to Dwight, we hated him. He was a bad guy, and I have come to really, really like Dwight, no matter which show he's on, whether it's Prime or Fear. I really like him. And I really wanted him to, find Sherry. And now I really, really want to know where Sherry has been. So yeah, I'm just really happy for the reunion. It was, I had a little bit of a hard time focusing on this episode. This wasn't the greatest episode for me, but the Sherry coming back was what made it. That's what gave it a higher rating for me.
And how did you rate it? I think, did you tell?
4.3.
4.3, what out of what?
Bottles of IV bleach.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. You totally told me, and then I bleached it out of my brain. All right. Well, my good. Oh, before I go into my good, I want to say this to Steve. So, Steve, yes, Strand has always been a really grim, dark character. Strand has always had the capability of kneecapping someone the way Shane kneecapped Otis. Yeah. He's been really, really poorly written for a couple of seasons now, but he's always been that dark, horrible person that we really want him to be.
Yeah.
It's kind of meta to talk to other podcast hosts through your podcast, isn't it?
Thomas O'Mara actually, because I was like, why didn't Salazar let Strand in on the ruse. And I kind of agree with Thomas. He said, as for why Daniel didn't clue Strand in on the plan, obviously he doesn't trust him. Remember, Strand gave Ginny the starter for the MRAP, and Daniel questioned that last season. And Daniel always thought Strand only cares about himself. So, yeah, okay, I see it.
He also said, and you must be in this thread that we're both on. You must be in the same thread. He said Janice was Tom's sister. Tom died on the bridge. Janice was in the store, and Max Headroom told her there was one bullet in the gun in the store, and then Wes made it in to save her. Tess was the woman in the house with the landmines. So, yeah. Thank you, Thomas, for paying attention, because season 5 was kind of a blur. So, my good was actually the whole cold open. I really loved it. I loved Morgan's line where he said, I feel like I've been 16 different somebodies since this whole thing ended.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
I didn't write anything down about the open.
Oh my gosh. And then I wrote down a lot about the cold open. I think that stealing Emil's identity suits him because he looks really good.
He does.
And he got the haircut and the beard trim.
Yep. I did like the melding of the two weapons.
Yes, I thought that was hugely symbolic.
And I also think it's kind of interesting because I think it was last season, somebody from one of Ginny's compounds or towns or whatever repaired his staff. And I kind of want to think that, like, he was getting, not only was he, like, melding his past and his future, but he was also getting rid of that repair that one of Ginny's people did. You know,
that's very possible.
Yeah.
And the music that was played while he was doing the repair or the melding of the two weapons was really good.
I don't remember it.
It wasn't a song. It was just some background music, but it was really good. It added to it. It was in the background, but it added to. It did not detract from.
So why do you think he didn't? Do you think he really didn't? He like his arm. He didn't think he could hold the baby, or didn't think it was a good idea, or like, does he have like this weird aversion to the Morgan baby?
So first of all, I want to say that I was really glad they showed Rachel and baby Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
I think he still has a lot of trauma around Dwayne and Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
I think he still has a lot of trauma around losing both of them, because just the way that he was talking about, you know, Jenny couldn't keep weight on, and about Dwayne being an infant, I think that's what it was.
Did you notice baby Morgan had the carousel mobile?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I like how Rachel was like, baby Morgan needs a playmate. Meaning basically, you know, get Grace here.
I was going to say, but baby Morgan may have a playmate.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So my good was the cold open. I thought it was a great cold open. I mean, this really truly was one of the best episodes of Fear, I think, ever.
So I was surprised with from the ads of what is on the next episode, I was kind of surprised that we got any Morgan, Rachel, baby Morgan, because Al was the focus, and of course we saw that in the title credits. So.
Yeah, and, you know, again, I like what they're doing with the title credits.
But I also, we got just enough of the Morgan stuff as to kind of check in, but, like, we're still kind of we're doing the bottle episodes for the different people or sets of people in our group.
And so you actually just made me realize something, which Morgan is going to be the through thread for all of these.
Yeah.
Because this is 6-3, right? So in 6-2, he was the through thread at the end where he connected with Daniel.
And now he was the beginning.
Yeah, so I suspect we're probably going to have another through story with Morgan next episode as well.
Have to watch out for that.
Yeah. All right, what was your bad?
So my bad was, I don't know if it was like bad. It's more of a question. Why did Al turn Isabel away? Like, we spent all of this time trying to get there, and Al really wants to see her. Why did she waver off?
I honestly think that at that point she didn't know that they had antibiotics, so I do think that she was truly concerned about the infection risk. And I think that what she said about not wanting to lose Dwight, not wanting to lose another brother, was also very true. I think it was two things.
Okay. I will give you that, because the thing that I wrote down right above that was in Dwight's video goodbye to Al, he said, "Love you," or "love ya." And I was like, oh.
No, that was totally awesome.
I was just, here he has, we've talked about his wife throughout this episode. He's given up on finding her. And, of course, he knows that, Al is not, on his team.
As it were.
But he loves her like a sister. And, it just, like I said, I love Dwight's character. He's been through so much horrible stuff, in his story arc, that, when he connected with somebody enough to be, love ya, I was just like, oh, my cold dead heart fluttered.
So I felt like, and this is not bad, this is kind of rotting potpourri, but it's in response to your bad. I felt like there was a lot of history between Al and Dwight that we haven't seen. I feel like over the past several months that we haven't seen them. Actually, it hasn't been months, it's only been weeks. But I feel like there was a lot there that we haven't. There just was a lot there to contribute to their relationship. There was tons of relationship there that there wasn't there before.
Right.
So I would actually really like to know how that developed,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that we'll ever get it. I don't think we ever will, but I would like to see some of that Al Dwight story.
Yeah.
It'd be a great buddy cop movie.
I like those two together. Out of all of the people that have been sort of paired off, which I will get to something about that a little later. I think these two are kind of the most interesting. I think they're well balanced.
I completely agree. I loved the two of them together.
Yep.
I could completely watch the two of them together on a regular basis. And I hope that we get that.
Of course, one of our newer characters and one of our characters from Prime, screw everybody else.
Right?
No, but like I said, it wasn't so much bad as I was just well, we spent all of this time and effort, and we're basically on the run from Ginny if she finds out what we're doing, at that point, why not let her land and go give her a smooch and then be oh yeah, bubonic plague.
Sorry, plague. Bring out your dad.
Oh, my bad. I had the Rona. All right. What was your bad?
So I actually had two bads, and they were both fairly small, but one was a continuity thing that was an issue for me, and I'm sorry that my dog is being a big, giant jerk right now. Obviously, the dream bone didn't last that long. So, continuity thing. It's dark when Al goes back in the building with the Cipro. When Dwight goes racing out To see Sherry, it's bright daylight.
I can explain this.
Okay, explain.
Okay,
Explain, please.
My other half had the exact same gripe. So she goes in with the Cipro, and then they have to like get down to where all the other people were. They handed out the Cipro. They had their little, oh, yay, everyone's saved moment, even though most of them were too far gone and they're going to die of the plague anyway. But we kind of milled around for a little while, and then we had like another 40 stories we had to climb down the stairs to, and then get to the bottom, and then it was light. So it was like morning outside. It wasn't like, it was kind of like they stayed the night, you know, treating all of the sick and getting through the rest of the building and the dead and all that kind of stuff. And then they were outside. So there, a larger amount of time had elapsed than they made it seem like.
Okay, I'm willing to give you that.
Okay.
But I'm not willing to give you my second one.
Okay.
Okay, so this is my medical gripe. Cipro is actually a third-line drug for the bubonic plague.
You work with what you got, though, right?
Well, so I'm just saying, I looked it up because, of course, as I said earlier, I haven't, like, treated the bubonic plague. It's not something that's really in my experience. But, so there's actually very limited literature about the use of Cipro in treating the bubonic plague. What they really recommend is, like, gentamicin first line and doxycycline or tetracycline second line. So my AKA for my bad is Cipro doesn't fix everything.
Cipro is a broad spectrum, though, isn't it?
It is, but it doesn't fix everything.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
and
no,
I think that
so.
part of what's going on is that it does treat anthrax. And when we had the whole anthrax scare, like right after 9/11, everybody got Cipro like fused into their brains.
Yep.
So this is my medical rant. Cipro doesn't fix everything.
No, it doesn't. But it is a broad spectrum, and it's not like they were specifically putting it there to treat the bubonic plague. They were probably putting it there in case someone got, you know, a cut or a gunshot wound or something like that.
And to be fair, it's not even completely contraindicated in the treatment of the bubonic plague, but it's not the first line drug.
No, but they worked with what they got.
So that's my medical gripe.
Those people were goners, and like that dude who was like just like laying over the desk moaning, and I'm like, okay, we need to
with the
tie
big
him
pustule on his neck. Yeah,
I'm like, we need to tie his legs together. Just FYI, like, in fact, we should do that with everybody who has the plague. Like, they're going to reanimate in any moment.
Yeah, and you know, and Eric Kane did make the point in his review. He was like, you know, most of these people are probably going to die because they probably are so far gone that even IV drugs aren't going to touch them.
Yep. Not even IV bleach.
But maybe formaldehyde.
Made for a good-looking walker.
That walker was awesome. We have gotten some really good, between World Beyond, I will give them that, and now this, we have gotten some really good walkers in the last couple of weeks.
I was like, okay, is that lady even dead, or is she like
she was
crazy?
Awesome.
Yeah. All right,
what was your ugly?
So my ugly, actually, we've already talked about it, and it was the whole license plate game, and are Aaron and Al related?
Now I feel like she had some moments on tape about her brother, but was she interviewing her brother or was she talking about her brother? Because now I feel like I have to go back and seek those out, and I really don't want to go back.
Oh, yeah. So that was my ugly, and it was a good ugly because, you know,
it's
that
kind of
question
it
doesn't actually ever have to be answered for me. I just assuming that, oh, hey. Because, I mean, it's kind of a common game that I think a lot of people played in cross-country treks when they were kids.
I mean, usually it's not collecting them physically, but it's like, oh, there's a license plate from Alaska. There's a license plate. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So, just the thought of, like, oh, maybe her and Aaron are related. Because I don't think they're ever going to meet up on any one show. So, you know.
I think the question that I would have is, Does she know for sure that her brother is dead? Or is she just assuming because they were separated and they've never been able to find each other? I don't know. I don't remember the story, the little bit of storyline that we got about her brother well enough. But certainly the whole Africa connection and now the license plate connection, it suggests it.
Yeah.
I'm not totally writing it off. I think it's a legit theory.
And it could be one of those that they save for the
anthology.
The anthology.
Which, by the way, one of the things that I did notice in an interview with Matt Negrete about World Beyond was someone said, I really feel like the purple-haired walker from the high school needs to have her part in the anthology series.
Okay, and the weirdo in me that watches far too many crime series is like, that's legit how they find a lot of bodies. Like, the hair mask is like one of the last things to go.
Oh, so I'm remembering something, and I don't know if it's from a novel that I read or from a true crime thing that I read. Actually, I think it's a true crime thing.
The braids.
The braids.
The braids. It was true crime.
Yes.
I knew exactly what you're talking about.
What? Was that a Bundy thing?
I don't think so. I think it was a serial killer, though. But, that's... they did find other tidbits of the
But the braids,
remains.
like by the creek.
Yeah, I mean, it was a full-on, it looked like a wig where somebody had made it into braids, and it was actually,
Ew. All right, I'm gonna do my ugly, because it's a good ugly. Hope. I needed some hope.
I was like, wait, you're on the wrong show.
Right, you're like, I don't need that kind of hope. No, not that hope. No. No, I was so happy to have an uplifting ending and some hopefulness, because I feel like we have been so bereft of hope in the Walking Dead universe for a really long time.
Yeah.
I mean, especially after getting crushed by, oh my gosh, Al and Isabel aren't actually going to reunite. The reunion of Dwight and Sherry. Your good was my ugly. I loved it. It made me so happy to see them just macking on each other's faces.
Well, and especially after her note of, like, don't try and find me.
Right.
I kind of want to know what that was all about, because she seemed pretty happy to see him. So,
yeah.
And if she truly didn't, was like, I'm with somebody else now, or I don't want to see you, or you just bring too much bad past up for me. Like, she could have just not answered the radio when she realized it was Dwight,
we all do weird stuff when we're wounded. Case in point.
Yep.
But no, it was really, really nice to end with something uplifting and to just be happy.
And
to watch a Walking Dead episode and be happy at the end.
Yeah, and somebody who we like really got, something that they deserved.
I am going to say the thing that was like kind of my runner-up for my ugly was just, I love the way that Austin Emilio played Dwight, especially in this episode. He was just engaging and upbeat and not in any manipulative or artificial way. He was really believable, and I loved him. Dwight was great. Austin Emilio was great. Hands down. Just fantastic. 5 stars. Very good. Absolutely recommend. All right. So
I did not have much down for rotting potpourri. I'm sure you have pages and pages.
I have pages and pages. Of course I do. So the first question that I have is, Dwight talked about how he kind of had this plan that when he found Sherry, he was going to mess up a walker, throw his camera on it, and, like, basically fake his death and peace out with Sherry. Is he going to do that?
I don't think so.
I mean, I hope not. But, I mean, there's part of me that's like, are we going to lose both of them now that we've got Sherry back?
Yeah, I want to say no, but I also don't think that he's going to be like, hey, come back to Ginny's compound and then you'll probably get separated like Negan did to us, you know? Like, yeah, I don't know what he's going to do. I hadn't thought of that.
Okay, that actually reminds me of another thing entirely. So Al made this promise to Nora that they were going to, Nora was like, where is it? What's it like where you're from? And she's like, you don't want to go there, but we'll find somewhere wonderful for you. How are they going to do that? I mean, if they can't find something wonderful for their own people, how are they going to do that?
I don't think it's a matter of not being able to find someplace wonderful. It's finding someplace where Jenny's not going to find them. Because if they go missing, then Jenny's going to have people looking for them. But if Jenny doesn't even know you exist, they can send them back to the place that they were going to make the Humbug's Gulch. They can send them over there. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I hope so. Yeah.
So back to the plague.
Okay.
You don't actually get the plague from rats. You get them from fleas on rats.
Very good point. That is actually very accurate.
So they really didn't have to point out that 2 days ago Dwight had a rat in his sleeping bag, which like, I don't know, like, maybe it's just because I'm so terrified of spiders that I check my sleeping bag before I get into it. We don't have any snakes or anything up here. We don't have too many crazy bugs. Like, I think we have the hobo spider, which is loosely related to the brown recluse. Every once in a while, we'll get a black widow in on a cruise ship or a shipment of bananas or something. But, like, we generally don't have anything too freaky deaky that can fit inside of a sleeping bag. But I just, yeah. So, yeah, all those people, like, everyone freaking out about the rats. It's not the rats' fault. It's the fleas' fault.
You're actually making me think that now I'm going to have to check my sleeping bag for mice.
Your cat's eating them.
Well, so, Abira 2, mice 0, as far as I know. But, I don't know. I have to check my yarn this coming weekend.
You're more apt to get the hantavirus than you are the bubonic plague. Just
Excellent. Saying. I'm so glad to hear that.
Read the Hot Zone.
I think I have read the Hot Zone, but it's been a hot minute. Wah, wah. No, seriously, I did read it when it first came out, but it's been a long time. I read it. Come on.
Of course you read it. And I watched the TV series.
Of course you did.
The made-for-TV 6-episode miniseries. So one of the reasons why I wanted to point out the plague again is also because my other half was also on the whole, why did they start picking up pieces of office furniture, like the 3-hole punch and stuff, and start taking out the zombies? Why didn't they use the weapons that they had in their hands? And it's because those zombies had died of the plague, and one of the ways that you can get the plague is from the juices is the wrong word. The liquids that come from dead bodies that have died of the plague. So they did not want to infect their own weapons and then carry around weapons that were infected. So that's why they kept picking up different things like the fire extinguisher, the 3-hole punch, the rolly chair bottom.
I actually really liked the 3-hole punch as a weapon.
Yeah, those things are pretty hefty.
Yeah.
The only thing that would have been better is if they would have had one of those like document cutters, with the big razor blade thingy that comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that would have been better is one of those. Is just to rip that blade right off there, because it's got a blade and a handle, and you just swing it.
And those are fairly heavy too.
Yep. So, yeah. I kind of liked the use of, like, infection in this episode. Just because you had, like the wolf, you had an added element beyond the walkers, It was the rats, even though it was the fleas on the rats. And then the whole point of almost like irradiated walkers, you had to be careful. Like you couldn't just kill the walkers. Like you had to be careful.
Okay. Yeah.
So what else you got?
So Al first hearing Isabel on the walkie in the mortuary. Has she been hearing Isabel all along and monitoring? I kind of got the feeling yes.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was, I got the feeling that Isabel didn't realize she was talking to Al at the end.
Oh, I do.
Do ya? I mean, even like the whole beer thing. I mean, that's like something that you would say to anybody. Yeah, there's beer in the cooler over there. Hope it's not your last one. Ever.
But isn't that what she said to her?
I don't know. That would mean I would have to go back to episode or to season 5. But the other thing is, then she was, and I mean, Al's response was so vague. Oh, it's good to hear your voice because there aren't many people left out here. I mean, it was just all so vague. I was like, do they really? I mean, Al knows she's interacting with Isabel. Does Isabel know she's interacting with Al? I wasn't entirely clear.
Okay, so here's my argument is 1, Al kind of has a distinctive voice, and 2, I kind of think Al made an impression on Isabel and vice versa. So, yeah, I think it was like upon my first watch, I was like, did Isabel know? And like second watch, I was like, oh yeah, they both knew.
All right. I'm not entirely convinced. But, all right, there was something that made me think about our current pandemic, and it was something that Al said about Virginia. People die because blank went wrong, and if Virginia actually cared, she'd have gotten to it before it actually happened. I was like, ooh, shade! Fear the Walking Dead's throwing some shade!
Well, and yeah, I don't get that storyline of all of a sudden why does Ginny want stuff taped and why...
Yeah, I didn't get the whole storyline about things being taped either. Yeah. That didn't make any sense to me. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely something bigger that Ginny is gearing up to fight. I definitely think that is also a thread that's going to run through this entire season. We just don't know what it is yet.
Right. Part of that, I think, is I think it was Eric Kane who dubbed them the Vandals.
Yeah. So, I mean, the taggers, I think of them as the taggers.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, so they're potentially the ones who created the plague?
Yeah, so how did that get put together? Like... I mean, I guess maybe because there was the rat in the cage at the beginning that the walker fell on, that it's like, okay, maybe they collected these rats and, like, put them in the building. I just assumed that, like, any other, like, major structure, post-apocalyptic, that nature sort of just took over and the rats moved in, and that was that,
That was kind of what I thought, too, but,
Yeah, I mean, they saw the can of spray paint next to the cage where a rat had been. So, I mean,
well, and the end is the beginning was tagged on the building.
Yeah, which was what was tagged on that huge submarine.
Right, that the Look at the Flowers games is going to fix.
Yeah. But they need a key for something. But they're going around and tagging buildings. Yeah, I don't understand how it all fits together right now. It's like trying to do a puzzle when you don't have the picture to go with it or something.
Yeah, I don't know. They're gonna tie them in somehow too. Yeah. Maybe they're the big bad that Ginny's fighting against.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but how does it tie into Ginny? So yeah, maybe they're why she's creating an army.
Right. Still disappointed that her other sister wasn't Alaska.
Oh
One of the things that I wrote in my notes was, the Al Isabel storyline is compelling because we all like a tragic romance.
Yeah.
Nah, you didn't. Well, you're cold and dead inside.
Well, and so I don't like a tragic romance. Like regular romance. Like Dwight and Sherry finding each other.
That was almost a tragic romance. It was kind of tragic for a while, actually.
And one of the Forbes guys was like, yeah, like it would have been so much more interesting if like Sherry had been bitten. So yes, Dwight found her, but then he immediately has to kill her. I'm like, wow, dude.
He's even more cold and dead inside than you are.
Right?
All right. I did write that I really liked the chick who played Nora. I thought that there were some moments that were very well acted. When she was crying, she was legit crying. And I also think that she's pretty badass for somebody who's used to sell timeshares.
Well, and I like that she also mentioned that she thought all these people were, I forget how she put it, but basically losers for, buying timeshares in these places. But she's like, I never had the courage to go, travel to those exotic locales.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of self-reflective.
I did think briefly for a minute there that Maggie Grace was going to be like, peace out on this Fear the Walking Dead thing. I really thought that she was going to get scooped up by the chopper and go away.
I was kind of hoping that, that's how we were going to like get an extra sort of tie-in with CRM, but guess not.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if somehow we end up with a reintroduction of Isabel at some point. I don't know. I'm not convinced either way that storyline is alive or dead.
I think they're keeping it open on purpose to keep their options open.
I'm okay with that.
I thought that there was some, and it might have been one of the Forbes guys, it might have been comic book or something, that someone was complaining about, like, why are they just randomly dropping supplies on rooftops and places? And I'm like, okay, for one, you've obviously never played video games. Because there's always random supplies on rooftops. Two, it kind of sounded like it was, like, kind of drop points where if you got stuck in an area or if you were sending a team to an area, you had specifically mapped out places where you knew you could find MREs, antibiotics, extra ammunition, all those kind of things planned out ahead of time. And they were in multiple places so that if one place was compromised with, bubonic plague, you could move on to Delta location, which is what they did. So
I think the whole point about what you've got people randomly landing on your roof and dropping stuff off, and there's like this disc. I don't know. That was it was weird. That whole thing was weird.
Yeah, it was weird that they shot poor Brandon Smith, Michael Smith,
Mark Smith of Alaska.
Mark Smith of Alaska. And it's so funny. The other half and I actually had an argument over what driver's licenses in Alaska's looked like back then.
Oh.
Because they have changed a couple of times over. So
good
for the
point.
Longest time, we still had those like 1972 laminated photos with typewritten height, weight, all that kind of stuff on it. We eventually did move to the ones you saw on this episode, and we are now finally getting to Real ID. So, we actually had to phone a friend on what IDs looked like because he was a bouncer, so he
that is
looked at IDs
hilarious.
for a living forever.
And
the show was correct.
Very good.
Except they had one extra digit. Our driver's license numbers aren't that long. But they probably had to use like it had to be a fake one.
Right. I mean, it's just like, there's like a fake phone number that they use in TV shows.
Right.
Yeah. All right. I actually don't have anything else.
I don't either.
Except that I'm so glad to have a great episode of Fear, and I'm looking forward to listening to Aim for the Head because it sounds like they had exactly the same take that we did.
So we're gonna keep doing the 2 episodes for as long as they do them.
It's killing me.
Maybe we'll mix it up once, and Diane can watch Fear the Walking Dead, and I'll watch World Beyond, and we'll just sit here and tell each other about it.
Oh my gosh, it would be kind of like a My Favorite Murder episode. Oh, that could be kind of funny.
It would be.
I am going to edit this one hopefully tomorrow night, but I am behind at work because I have been sick all weekend. But I will try to edit this one and edit the Real Housewives and get them both up.
Excellent.
Yeah. And, again, we're still waiting for our Real Housewives feed to go live in iTunes. Apparently it can take a while, which is like super frustrating. We are also not posting to Spotify either, which is just irritating. So, grr.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I know.
I'm proud of us just for recording.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
We're doing so much recording now.
Oh my God.
Oh.
All right.
Well, until we record again, which is like 6 days from now.
Less than that if we're recording a Real Housewives episode.
Right? Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm COVID isolating for the rest of my freaking life, so all I'm going to do is podcast. That's going to be my whole interaction with the world. So.
I'm isolating. It's not because of COVID. I just really don't like people anymore. At least in person.
Me either. 0 stars. Very bad. Do not recommend.
All right, everybody. Until we talk again at some point in the very near future, just remember, take it one dead day at a time.
At a time. Why was this one so bad tonight? All right, everybody. Have a good week.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.